Mac versus PC, which should I choose for music production? Now, I can already imagine the comments that are going to come onto this video. I guess it's quite a 50-50 thing, and Mac users in general are quite defensive of the whole Mac ecosystem. And I'm a Mac user myself, but I was a Windows user, and I used to love using Windows. And I'll tell you now, the only reason I moved to Mac was because at the very early stages of Dolby Atmos in music production and mixing and mastering, the software wasn't available for Windows. You couldn't use the Dolby Atmos renderer at the early stages for Windows. So you there was a couple of workarounds, and it was such a faff that it was like, right, well, we're just going to have to, switch to Mac. And that forced us to go down that route. Thankfully, though, Mac have brought out this M1, M2 chips and going into M3, and that's made a massive difference. Now, I feel if someone was to ask me right now, what should I buy, a Windows PC or should I buy a Mac M2? I mean, the M2 Ultra is unbelievable. It really is good. I've never had an issue with it, and I would recommend going down the Mac route. And the reason for that is, now, when you look at software built for the music industry, it's almost like what ends up happening is everything's built for Mac, and then Windows is an afterthought. And a prime example of that is UAD Luna, their DAW. That is built for Mac, it's used on Mac, and it works fine on Mac. Windows, people are still waiting for it. Anytime I see there's a new update for Luna, you see it on Facebook, whatever, and you'll see in the comments thread, like, when's it coming for Windows? And everybody's asking for it. But I mean, it's probably been out 2-3 years now, Luna, and there's still no Windows version. And this is the case with a lot of things. I do a lot of beta testing, and a lot of the software companies, you get delivered the Mac version, and the Windows version isn't even available. And the Windows version's like, right, well, we got the Mac version done, let's make the Windows version. That is unfortunately the case. Now, I used to be very much on the side of Windows, let's say 4 years ago, before the M1 chip. And the reason for that is you could build a custom PC tower that was far better than the Mac PCs, Mac computers at the time. They were far better. A custom PC, fully customized, built exactly how you want it, was far better. The issue now is that the M2 chip and going into the M3 chip, they are really, really good. No doubt you can build a PC that is going to surpass the capabilities of the Mac M2 or M3. No doubt you can do that, but it's quite affordable, really, when you look at the Mac Studio, for instance. I mean, don't look at the cheese grater. That's mad, and it's very expensive for what it is. Now, the problem Mac always had was you were paying for a logo a lot of the time. That's kind of changed now. I mean, you can pick up a really good Mac laptop now for like just over £1,000, which, that is expensive, but you are getting a very, very good laptop. I've got an M2 Mac. I think it's a Mac Mini. No, I don't know what. Actually, it is a Mac Mini, I think. But the actual laptop's incredible. Like, it really is good, the M2. In the studio, I use an M2 Ultra, and I can't fault it. I now always recommend Mac for those reasons, that the software is always developed ready to go. Now there are, you're always going to have these kind of teething issues with like compatibility. People who use cracked plugins, you're gonna have hell on a Mac. That is going to be your issue. Is there's a lot of security aspects, and you've got to disable kernel settings, things like that on the Mac. And once you've got a very stable Mac system, they're very, very good. I find now, as a user, as an ex-Windows user that's transferred to Mac, a few things I find is the kind of user interface is somewhat better. There's a lot of things that are better on Windows, and there's a lot of things that are better on Mac, and it is very much a 50-50 thing. But I do find things to be a lot smoother and a little less clunky on a Mac in comparison to Windows. Things might have changed. This was like 3-4 years ago, but any time even now, if I ever go back onto a Windows computer, I do feel like I'm on an inferior product in comparison to my own systems that I use. The other things that are great with Macs is the touchpad's good. That's always really good, and that always surpasses any touchpad that you get on a Windows laptop. The Windows, what's that one? I can't think what it's called now, but there is a Windows laptop that has a really nice touchpad. But the big thing with Mac is when it comes to development of any software, and the part of the reason why software is developed for Mac and then Windows is somewhat an afterthought is because Mac's almost a closed shop. If you develop a piece of software for the Mac system, it kind of works across the whole system, across all the different devices that are on Mac. And Windows, you've got so many different components in so many different machines. It's an open kind of open world for people to create different PCs and laptops, have custom ones. Mac's it's all in-house. It's one brand that they have to make it work for, and there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to PCs. So that is somewhat why it's an afterthought. But yeah, I mean, I'm on the side of Mac only because the development into the M1 and the M2 chips has made it a lot more affordable. Because back in the day, right, what you used to have was an Intel chip. It was basically a PC with a Mac sticker. That's what it was. It was a Mac logo on what is essentially a PC running the Mac OS. That was essentially what you had back then when you were running Intel. So, but you were paying 3-4 times more for the Mac computer, which I don't. Look, I'm all about. I'm cool with paying a lot of money. I'll pay a lot of money for good stuff. But if there's something that's exactly the same, but it's a one's got an Apple logo and one's got a Windows logo, and I'm paying 3 times as much for the Apple logo, I'm going to go with the one that's cheaper, that does the same job and is capable of doing exactly the same. The difference now is that the kind of the Mac Studios are very, very, very good, and they're very affordable. Like my Mac Studio Ultra, I think once I kind of spec'd it up was about 5,600, which, look, that's not affordable, but that's because I spec'd it right up. Now you can get like entry level at like $2,000 for a really, really top notch computer, and the equivalent on PC would probably cost you the same. Whereas before it used to be you'd spend $2,000 on a PC and you'd have something that way surpassed anything that was on a Mac computer. Whereas now it's very much kind of if you looked at the price points, I feel like it's very much quite even. You probably, look, Mac is expensive. You pay for a cable and it's ridiculous priced. things like that are actually really good with the Macs. Is like the Thunderbolt slots are really cool with the actual breakout boxes into multiple USBs, multiple different Thunderbolts, multiple screens off of one little kind of dock. That's really cool. Another one is a prime example is things like DSP. Now I want to get the APB 16s and I want to put quite a few of them in. They're not currently available on Windows. I'm told that it's coming at some point, but you know, if I wanted to go down the route of getting these really, you know, stuff that interfaces with the computer, they're supported more for Mac rather than Windows. And again, that kind of comes with this whole thing of, well, we'll get it working on Mac. It's the kind of industry standard for music production, mixing, mastering, and then afterwards we'll kind of think about Windows. So yeah, I mean, if someone asked me now which one to go for, I would honestly say, you know, and this is my honest opinion, and it's why I use Mac, and it's get a Mac. The Mac Studios are brilliant. Even the laptops, you can quite easily produce really good music using a Mac laptop with a nice interface, a pair of headphones or speakers, however you want to do it. They're very good, and that's my honest opinion on it. And this is coming from someone that was very much a Windows user that hated Mac, because I hate anyone that has control over my how I have to do things, and Mac very much has this kind of hold over you. Apple get their claws into you, and it's very difficult to break away from that. Because it's this whole ecosystem where you need the phone, the watch, the this, the that, and everything syncs together, and they know what they're doing. They're very good at business, and that's not for me. I don't like that. But so I mean, I'm very much just Mac computer, and that's it. I don't do the Apple phones, because the thing with the phones is they're not as good as Android phones. And you know, I've got a Samsung S23 that is far better than any Apple phone, even the latest ones. They're well behind when it comes to phones, but that's a whole different video for someone else to do, not me. But yeah, if for music production, yeah, I would honestly say go down the route of buying yourself a Mac. One final point that I just thought of as I ended that video was resale value. Now, resale value, if you try and sell, like I've got a Dell XPS 16 or 18 or something like that, but I've got a Dell XPS and it's spec'd up, and it was 2,600 for this laptop when I first bought it. I literally cannot give it away. Like it's literally worthless. I think it's worth about 300, 400 pound. The problem you have with a PC, what I've found, is their resale value is, especially laptops, is not a lot at all. Whereas Macs have a good resale value. If I sold my M2 Mac laptop now, I could still get a good amount of money for it. And yeah, resale value isn't great with PCs, and is very good actually with Mac. They seem to hold their value very well. So that's one last final point that I would add in this whole Mac versus PC debate. But yeah, look, everybody's got an opinion on this. Drop it in the comments, and you know, let's try and keep it civil and let's not argue, but let's have a discussion about this, because I'm on the side of Mac, but there's a lot of people that are on the side of Windows. Now let me know why it is that you're on the side of Windows, and not just because you use Windows, but give valid reasons. Why are Windows better than Mac? And this, yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm not that I'm ever going to be converting back, because I'm too now, like what Apple do, I'm way too invested in the whole Mac ecosystem